All right, so to continue where we left off in the last video, we finished by finding the perimeter of a few, shapes. And we're going to start by, with number 6 here, kind of doing the same thing, just to kind of create a nice fluid segue, and then we'll jump into some of these differenter problems. Okay, so number 6, find the perimeter. Now, the thing about number 6 is it doesn't list out all the sides, but because it's a rectangle, we kind of should interpret what those other sides are. We should know what those other sides are, right? Because 7 plus 3x, if it's on the top, it's going to be the same exact length on the bottom. So the bottom has to also be 7 plus 3x, because that's just how rectangles work, And then same thing on the left. The right side has 5x squared minus 2. So guess what? The left side has 5x squared minus 2. And so we just simply add all of these together, all the like terms together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to identify my like terms and just simply combine them. So I'm going to start with my x squared, because that seems to be the biggest exponent term. So that's where I'm going to begin. So I have a 5x squared here and a 5x squared here. And well, that's about it. So I'm just going to add those two terms together. 5x squared plus 5x squared makes 10x squared. So that takes care of combining those. So now we have to add, because remember, perimeter, just as a recap, perimeter is just adding up all 4 sides. So you're adding up all 4 of these sides together. When you're doing that, all you're going to be doing is combining like terms. So I'm just adding up the like terms from all 4 sides. So 5x squared and 5x squared is the only x squared terms out of all 4 sides, so I added them together. Now look at the x terms. So we have 3x and 3x, and that is it. So I'm just going to add those together. 3x plus 3x makes 6x. So we have that. And then we have our constants, which there's a handful of. So we have 7 minus 2, just 5, plus 7. So 5 plus 7 makes 12. And then minus 2 again. 12 minus 2 makes 10. So those, all 4 of these combined make plus 10. That is our result. That is our... that's our final answer. That's our perimeter. Okay, so now 7 is a little bit of the same thing, but a little bit different, right? The perimeter of the rectangle is given to us, so we actually know what the perimeter equals. Unlike the last problem where we didn't know the perimeter, we actually had to add up all the sides to find the perimeter. In this case, we actually know what the perimeter is. So we have to find the length of the missing side. But we still use, the same intuition that we have solve for perimeter here. We know that when we add up all 3 sides, we get a complete total of our perimeter, which is 5x plus 4y. Right? So I know when I add up all 4 sides, I'll have 3x minus y plus x plus 2y plus something, right, is equal to the 5x plus 4y. All right. So what I like to do is go ahead and combine the terms that I can combine just to keep things a little simpler, and then we'll go from there. So if I combine my regular x terms, I'll have, for example, 3x and x. Now we can't combine this one with it because that's on the other side, right? That's part of the answer. I'm just simplifying the left side. The left side, 3x plus x makes 4x. And if we combine the y's, we have negative y plus 2y. So that's negative 1 plus 2, which is plus 1y, right? All right. So then we have that plus that mystery side. We don't know what's on that other side just yet, equal to our 5x plus 4y. So the way I look at this, and it might help if we write this vertically, right, is we have 4x plus y plus something, right, equal to 5x plus 4y. And the reason I'm writing it like this, because I think it stands out a little bit more, right? We're going to have y's that add up. So right now there's 1y, right? But we need to add something to it to make it 4y. So 1y plus something makes 4y. Well, knowing that, we can kind of interpret, hey, we know that that's supposed to be 3y, right? Because 1y plus 3y makes 4y. All right, we do the same thing for the x term, right? We have 4x, but I ultimately end up with 5x. So I must be adding 1x to it, right? Because 4x plus 1x ends up making that 5x. That's how I do it, personally. I find that to be the easiest way to do it. The other thing is you could just subtract, you can subtract 4x, and you can subtract y to cancel them out, and then you'll have your answer. Subtract y, right? Either way, you would get 1x, and this would become a positive 3y. Either way, you get the x plus 3y. It really doesn't matter what your approach is, whether you kind of approach it with this method or without subtraction. But we end up with the result of x plus 3y either way. So the other side is x plus 3y. And if you want to double check just to make sure, add them all up and see what you get. So add your like terms. So for example, 3x plus x plus x. 3 plus 1 makes 5x. And then also we can look at the y's. Negative 1 plus 2 plus 3 makes 4y. Because negative 1 plus 2 is 1, and then 1 plus 3 makes 4, so that would be 4y, which is what the perimeter was, right? So you can always just go back and make sure, double check it, that your perimeter does add up to what it claims to add up to. Okay, so there's a couple different approaches here, but it uses that same sort of, adding up all the sides and to make your perimeter. All right, so the perimeter of a trapezoid, this is a very similar problem to the last one, except we don't have a picture, but we can always make a picture. The perimeter of a trapezoid is 34a plus 9. Three sides have the following lengths: 5a minus 6, 2a plus 3, and 13a minus 5. What is the length of the fourth side? So I'm just going to draw a trapezoid, just a little sketch. And I know that one side, it doesn't really matter which one here, but I know one side is 5a minus 6. I know another side is 2a plus 3. And another side is 13a minus 5. So what is the fourth side? Right? We know that adding up all four sides, we're going to have a total be 34a plus 9. 34a plus 9. So doing that, we can kind of approach it sort of the long way, where we write everything out and we try to, one of those methods to find our answer, one of the methods from the last problem, right, where we could subtract at the end there, or we can kind of just figure out what fills in the space. So we have, let's try adding these up, 5a minus 6, right, plus 2a plus 3, plus 13a minus 5, plus some other side, which we don't know, right, is equal to 34a plus 9. So I would, of course, just try to simplify as much as I can on that left-hand side. So I, see the a terms. Let's try and put all these together just to make things easier. So 5a plus 2a plus 13a. 5 plus 2 plus 13 makes 20. So that'd be 20a. And then we can also combine our constant terms as well. So we have negative 6 plus 3 minus 5. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3, and negative 3 minus 5 makes negative 8. So that'd be minus 8. Right, so we have that. And then remember, we add our mystery polynomial, which we don't know, and we equal 34a plus 9. So I'll do both approaches again, just so you can kind of see what they were. So remember, one way is saying, hey, 20a minus 8 plus something, right, equals 34a plus 9. Okay, so fill in the gap, right? Negative 8 plus some number equals 9. So if you can figure out what that number is, then you've got that part of the answer, right? Negative 8 plus, and this happens to be 17. Negative 8 plus 17 makes positive 9. So there's the first part, and then we look at the a's, right? We have 20a, and we end up at 34a. So 20 plus something makes 34, And in this case, 20 plus 14 makes 34. So this would be 14a. So the answer would be 14a plus 17. Now, if you don't like that approach, do it this way, right? Where once you've simplified the expression, just subtract. So subtract 20a to cancel it out, move it over there, and subtract, well, I guess in this case, because it's a minus 8, we'll have to add 8 instead. So add 8, cancel it out, and we'll have the mystery polynomial, or the mystery function is 34a minus 20a, which is 14a, and 9 plus 8, which is 17. So you get the same result. It doesn't really matter what your approach is. If this is still kind of new to you, right, I would probably use this method with the subtraction. But if you're one person who's would consider themselves a good with numbers, a good math person, then you might more instinctively think this way. It doesn't really make a difference. You'll get the same answer regardless, but different types of approaches can still get you the same answer. So Bob mode, 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 yards. Man, they really want to make things difficult, don't they? On Monday, 4x minus 7 yards on Tuesday, and 3x squared plus 10 yards on Wednesday. How many yards did he mow in the 3 days? So basically, it's just saying, this one's asking the total, right? If you add up all 3 days, how much did he mow? So really, we were just add up all these totals. Now, it's not numbers we're adding. It's these functions, these expressions we're adding. But that's fine. We're still, just essentially just adding them together. 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. That's Monday. We're adding Tuesday to it, which is 4x minus 7. And then we're going to be adding Wednesday to it, which is 3x squared plus 10. To find the grand total, we just add them all together and find the grand total. So remember, identify pairs that go together. So the x squareds, for example, they'll go together. So we have 2x squared and 3x squared. And we're adding all of that. So 2x squared plus 3 makes 5x squared. So 5x squared. We'll look at the constants, or not the constants, the x terms next. We have 5x, we have 4x, and that's it. 5x plus 4x combines to make 9x. And then we also have our constants. So our constants are -3 minus 7 plus 10. This actually comes out to 0. -3 minus 7 is -10, and then -10 plus 10 is 0. So it's plus 0. Or essentially our final answer is just 5x squared plus 9x. All right. Now, if Bob mowed 14x squared plus 12x minus 3 yards total for the entire week, how many yards did he mow during the rest of the week? So this is sort of saying, okay, so, what we did on A is we found Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? We added up Monday plus Tuesday plus Wednesday, right? So we know that those add up to 5x squared plus 9x, right? But if he keeps mowing for Thursday, Friday, and I'm guessing Saturday and Sunday, just whatever the rest of the week is, assuming he works on Saturday and Sunday, right? If he adds that up, he ends up with the week having a total of 14x squared plus 12x minus 3 yards cut. So basically, we already know he's got that much cut, right? We have to fill in the gap to see how much left he would have to cut to reach this grand total. It's pretty much the exact same thing as the last two problems, right? So you can approach it two different ways. You can say, hey, we have 5x squared plus 9x plus 0, and we're adding something, and we end up with the result of 14x squared plus 12x minus 3. Or you can just approach it using the subtraction, right? Saying, hey, let's subtract 5x squared, subtract 9x. We'll do that over on the other side as well. Subtract 5x squared, subtract 9x, and we'll get our grand total. So either method gets you the same thing. So starting with this top one, so if you did it this way, you're at 0 and you end up at -3, so you must be just subtracting 3 to get that, right? 0 minus 3 leaves you with -3. You're at 9x, and then you're adding something to make 12x, so you must be adding 3x, because 9 plus 3 makes 12. And And then you're at 5x squared, but you end up with 14x squared. So 5 plus something makes 14. That's going to be 9x squared. Right? So you can do it that way, fill in that gap, and you have your result. Or you can do it through subtraction. You get the same thing. So 14x squared minus 5x squared was 9x squared. 12 minus 9 makes 3x. And then, of course, negative 3 plus nothing is just negative 3. So either way, you get the same answer, but that's the approach that you could take. All right, number 10. Molly has 4x plus $10 and Ron has negative 5x plus $20. How much money do they have together? So you take Molly's and you add Ron's. So that's 4x plus 10 being added with Ron's, which is negative 5x plus 20. And so we're going to see what their total is combined. So just combining like terms like we always have been doing. So we have 4x plus a negative 5x. So it's really 4 minus 5. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. So it's going to be negative 1x, just negative x. And then our constants, we can combine those as well, right? 10 and 20 combine to make 30. So that'd be plus 30. So negative x plus 30 if you put those two together. How much more money does Molly have than Ron? So in order to find out how much more money she has, you'd have to take the difference between the two. You'd have to subtract them. Molly minus Ron is how much money, extra money Molly has compared to Ron. So Molly's was 4x plus 10. And we're subtracting Ron's, which is negative 5x plus 20. And because of that, I'm going to distribute this minus sign. So that's going to become a plus 5x minus 20. That just makes it easier to combine now. So when you combine it, you'll realize that Molly has 4x plus 5x, which is 9x, and 10 minus 20, which is 10 minus 20 is negative 10. 9x minus 10 more dollars. No, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it kind of does. So there's our result. So the thing about that problem that was tricky is just how much more money does Molly have than Ron? You have to be able to understand and interpret that this is talking about finding the difference between Molly and Ron. Take Molly's money, subtract Ron's amount, and you'll have how much money Molly has more, right? Say Molly had $50 and Ron had $35. Well, you do 50 minus 35 to find out that Molly has $15 more than Ron, right? That's kind of the idea here. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I will see you next time. All right. Later.